Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, everyone. 大家午安啊，早安，晚安。My name is Heng Sure. Today is Saturday, March 28th, here in the Gold Coast of Queensland. It is 7:30 p.m. in California, and it's 10:30 in the morning in Malaysia, Singapore, and Asia, China, Taiwan. Welcome to our lecture on the picture biography of Master 𝗦𝗲𝗂𝗧. To get started this morning, I'm going to ring the bell 3 times, and then Vera, who is in Sao Paulo, Brazil, is going to request Dharma for all of us. Okay, are we ready? You can make 3 half bows. Here we go. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Okay, Vera, if you'd like to request Dharma, please go ahead and do it now.
恭敬大德圣境，为此法会集结众生，清正妙法论教导我们如何了生脱死离苦得乐，速证无生。Will the Sangha with great virtue out of compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo sadanto sucedoye olahudi sanmyao sanputoshi.
Namo sadanto sucedoye alahodi samao samputoche.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. So, Vera, thank you for the Dharma request. Appreciate that. Glad to be of service. We'd like to respectfully acknowledge the 𝗂𝗵𝗵𝗃 people, the Yugambeh language region, as traditional storytellers and custodians of the land where our monastery is located. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and all First Nations people whose sovereignty was never ceded. 我们恭敬地承认Yugambeh语族的𝗂𝗵𝗃𝗃人是我们寺院所在地的传统许世者和守护人。我们向过去、现在和未来的长者们致敬，并且向所有从来没有放弃主权的第一民族的原住民致敬。The bell sound wide resounds throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. 众生传3000劫内，佛法让万亿国中，共训其意，法界和平，利益报他那厚德。Okay, our lecture starting protocols are complete, and I would like people to know that you can listen to this lecture in Chinese. 就说，如果你们愿意用中文来听今天的讲座呢，这个你的软件的右下角有一个 interpretation， 有一个小地球的样子，那里就有 Chinese 就可以了哈。Also, we're having a translation into Vietnamese as well. So if you would like to listen to my English in Vietnamese, please go to the chat box there on your software. You will find there we go. Soon you will find a link to the Vietnamese translation. Also, I'd like people to know that if you would like to do the Dharma request, you don't have to go to Sao Paulo, Brazil. If you want to, I'm sure Vero would welcome you. But from wherever you are, if you would like to request Dharma, you can do so in one language or two languages. Just send an email to our fearless coordinator, Chen Yu. She will help you set up the Dharma request. Okay, let's see here. Currently, there are 93 of us online. We'll probably get to 120 today. From nearly every province in China. I haven't checked to see if there are any provinces who have not checked in with us. I know Gansu is Guangxi, not that many, one or two. Xinjiang, we've had more than a few.内蒙古, Inner Mongolia, we've had quite a few. So amazing how all over China, all over Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, lots and lots of Dharma friends. What you're looking at on my desktop is where I was just 3 days ago in Kuala Lumpur, where we had a very satisfying turnout. One of the lectures, we had 270 people present, and then another 300 or 400, they said, online, listening in on Zoom. So the word got out, and here you see the Sangha of Kuala Lumpur, the different monasteries, 𝗥𝗲𝗳𝗄, Fayuansi, and all of the volunteers who work really hard in Malaysia to turn the Dharma wheel. So glad that this year worked out so well. Tomorrow, for our Avatamsaka lecture, I'm going to give a kind of an overview of the whole trip, a week in Singapore and a week in Malaysia with photos. So that'll be part of tomorrow's lecture if you want to listen in at 12:30 Australia Eastern Time. That'll be 10:30 in the morning in China and Taiwan, and it will be 7:30 p.m. in California. Okay, now today we have this story, which people will note I've explained twice before. Why are we doing this? Again, because around, so the main story goes, Master Empty Cloud was called from Yunnan in the far southwest to please come to the far southeast of China to a place called Quanzhou, Fuzhou, where a monastery is called Yongquan. The location is on Gushan Drum Mountain, and Gushan traditionally for hundreds and hundreds of years had been sacred ground. This is the place where if you in China wanted to become a monk or nun and ordain, and if you had the blessings to go to Gushan to get your precepts, you were, as they say, you were golden. You were in like flint. That's what we used to say when I was a teenager. That was really where, if your precepts came from an ordination at Gushan, no one questioned the authenticity of your qualities as a monk or none. That was the best. Precept transmission there was said to be the best. So it was until the 20th century. In fact, just a few years before 1933, where our story is today, Yongquan Bubbling Spring Monastery became a 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗀, which is to say it turned its back on the basic tradition of monasteries in China and became a hereditary temple passed on through families. So it lost all of its status to even be considered a Buddhist monastery. The local lay people, and the story traveled wide. It traveled to Guangzhou, it traveled up to Zhejiang province, Shanghai, in places like that, in Jiangsu. And the kind-hearted elders and laity said, who can save our Buddhist legacy? Who can save our history? Master Empty Cloud is the one who can, because he had just done this back in Yunnan at Jizushan, Chickenfoot Mountain, that had similarly, like remarkably similarly, fallen out of the standards of Buddhism and had become a place for corrupt dealings with the Buddhist, under the Buddhist name. So using the reputation of Buddhism to generate profit for selfish individuals, right? So he had turned it from that sad state of corruption into a flourishing monastery where 𝗤𝗵𝗿𝗲𝗀𝗀, right, where the right Dharma was returned. So these lay people said, get Master Empty Cloud, invite him, see if he'll come. Well, he came. They said, would you please take over? So he thought about it and realized the reason that he said yes was because he himself had ordained at Gushan's Yongquan, and he said, I really owe my precepts to the tradition there. How can we just let it get decay? How can we let it fall into bad reputation? So he took on the job of restoring, reforming, correcting the traditions back to the standards of the past at Gushan. Now, Master Hua, working from the Nianpu, Master Empty Cloud's autobiography, picked out a few of the episodes that were famous, including during 1933, there were two things going on in China that were causing great chaos outside the Buddhist world that then influenced the Buddhist world. One was the Japanese army invaded China, and for various reasons, the military powers in charge of China, which at the time was Jiang Jieshi, received a lot of criticism for allowing the Japanese troops to occupy Shanhaiguan. What was the Shanhaiguan? It was the place where the Great Wall of China meets the Bohai and on the Chinese coast. And it was kind of the last bastion of defense that keep the Great Wall for keeping invaders out. What was north of the Great Wall was Manchuria. The Japanese came in, and for what was called hold on here, I'm studying my Chinese history as well, what was called the 𝗤𝗵𝗄𝗵𝗄𝗵𝗄，the Republic of China Army allowed the Japanese to set up the Manchukuo north of the Great Wall, basically ceding, giving over a big chunk of China, what was now known as the Northeast, Dongbei, to the Japanese to control. So that's one. That's in the far northeast, in the far northeast of China. Down in the southeast of China, there was called the 𝗤𝗄 the where the 19th Root Army rebelled, feeling that after what had happened in the north, they said, we've lost confidence in the government, the current military government of China. So what happened was men with guns turned their attention to easy pickings and started to attack the Buddhist institutions. They, the words, they essentially, here we go, this is what I want. They came in and looted monasteries, took charge of monasteries, and kicked the monks out. That was essentially the situation in China. Military pressure destabilized local governance. I can make this bigger so you can read it. Here we go. So the armies, various competing armies, destabilized local governments. The local defense collapsed. Civil administration ran away. So what happens next? Refugees come into Hebei on the south of the Great Wall. Religious institutions in the north faced looting, theft, requisitioned by who knows who, armed men, and then kicking the monks out. So China was not yet in total war, but invasion from outside and struggle from inside, monasteries faced real danger. Bandits, rogue troop movements, stealing the food of the monasteries so to feed themselves. Many monasteries, as a result, closed their doors. Just said, sorry, we have to protect ourselves, stay away, don't come. Master Empty Cloud at Yongquan on Gushan said, we're not, said, 随缘不变，不变随缘，保定我们三大宗旨, right? He said, we will continue to accept monks who come with proper precept ordinations, no different. We're not going to move in the face of what's going on outside, right? So how courageous, and as we learned from we learned that, as they say, 云水僧人云来给予孤山者，数达1500-600之多，摘量困难，然仍维持一粥一饭水准. Because the master was abbot at Drum Mountain, you could still come if you had a precept certificate. Wandering monks from the 10 directions gathered in large numbers at Drum Mountain, and Drum Mountain said, we're going to feed them. 1,500 or 1,600 people per meal, per day. One bowl of soupy rice and one bowl of cooked rice per day. Okay, that is the background for today's story. Now, take a look. Here is currently, this is Gushan now. This is what it looks like now. You get a sense of the kind of the lay of the land. Yongquan, there it is. Currently, now these Buddha images have been restored after the Cultural Revolution. So these are currently 40-year-old images, not Tang Dynasty images, but it has been restored. And yet, much of what we're looking at today is how it looked when Master Empty Cloud arrived, with exceptions. So you can see the kind of the bones of Gushan Yongquan are here. You can visualize what the monks saw back in 1930 when Master Empty Cloud came. Yongquan, Bubbling Spring Monastery. There we go. That's the picture, right? I think this might be the Zhangjing Lo. Okay, so now we have a sense. Let's get a look at the map. Here is Fuzhou, right? Yongquan this is Gushan here. This is Wenzhou. Shanghai is up here. Let's get a better look here. For people who are not that familiar with the geography of China, so Shanghai is up here. If you see my cursor, here is Suzhou, here's Nanjing, here's Hefei, Anhui province. Down, this is Fujian. Yongquan is here. Here's Taiwan. So we can see the sense of it. Now let's zoom in to take a look at the Gushan at the time was really a mountain, and you had to walk a windy road from Fuzhou up to Yongquan here. So Gushan is all of this, Drum Mountain. And Yongquan is here in the on a mountain peak. So you can see how rugged it was back then. And if you walked there, you were committed to hiking in. It's not the case that you dropped in the afternoon. You had to put on your hiking shoes and go out. All right, here we are. Now, there is a document here called Xu Dashi Zai Gushan. This was written by a monk called Yueyao, and it was appended to our document, the Nianpu, in 1952. So we understand that this is a later addition to the Nianpu, that is the autobiography. This was added to it by a spectator, by another monk in the Sangha, but he did such a thorough job of describing the process of renovating a monastery that had fallen completely out of the Buddhist world. It became a 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗲, a hereditary temple, so in private hands instead of the hands of the Sangha. And then Empty Cloud, what he went through in order to restore this temple, I think it's really worth our time to review this document. Now, no pictures. The picture biography, Shifu compressed all of these stories into one episode in order to continue with the process of our picture biography format. So, because this document was here, I thought this is really worthwhile to get clear on how the character of a 93-year-old monk like Master Empty Cloud, the influence he can have on the world around him. Some people say, oh, you Buddhists, you just cross your legs and seek nirvana. What a parasite you are. How useless is your life? Why don't you go get a job? I've heard all these things in my life. And look at let's disprove that challenge right here. Okay, Cliff, if you wouldn't mind giving us, can you see what I've got here on the screen? Is it big enough? Go, Dharma. Okay.
虚云大师在鼓山月曜编者按赐稿西老和尚1952年立故时作，因系鼓山事迹，故附录编于此。
Okay, here we go.
建福州的鼓山在社会历史上是以名胜风景著称的，而在佛教的地位上，尤其禅宗历史上，因伪朝以来都有大德高僧是颇负盛名的，尤以唐朝的神念国视为最盛。明清以来，亦不乏人，像永觉、元贤、为林、道林禅师等， 都算难得的宗将。所谓名山多高僧，真是不错。在1929年的时代以来，古山完全变了，从十方所有变成子孙，由盛旺变为衰败，是民省秉政者。此后系杨树庄、方声涛二世续老归弟子，见此情况大不满意，乃联合佛教界中较为开明的四众人士，从云南的鸡足山请到虚宫主持古山，做整理和复兴的工作。
Okay, so this is by a monk known as Yueyao. His essay was called Xu and Gushan. It was written by Elder Yueyao when he went to Shanghai in '52, and it's so significant regarding Master 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗀's contributions that they appended it here. Gushan in Drum Mountain in Fuzhou, Fujian, has been known in secular history for its scenic beauty and famous landscapes. In the sphere of Buddhism, especially history of the Chan school, is widely renowned. Through successive dynasties, there were eminent monks and virtuous masters connected with Gushan. National Master Shen Yan of the Tang, particularly bright. Ming and Qing, likewise no shortage. 𝗦𝗲𝗬𝗀𝗀𝗃 were rare patriarchs of the generation. So, famous mountains produce eminent monks is indeed true, until 1929, where everything changed. The monastery belonged to the 10 directions, that is to say, no, quote, owner, but any monk or nun who was officially ordained could go and stay there, was converted into a hereditary temple and declined from prosperity to decay. The governors of Fujian, named here, who had taken refuge in the Master 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗀 in past years, saw the situation, were really unhappy. So the Fourfold Buddhist community sent a letter and personal representation to invite Master 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗀 from the far southwest to come to the far southeast, to Gushan, to revive the monastery. Okay, Cliff.
古山离福州省城约有30里，山下到山上以涌泉寺为止，约有10里高，都是10级的宽阔大道。当虚老上山时，从山下排列到山上来欢迎的善男信女，莫不以香花迎接，有的还跪倒下拜，足见感化人的力量是多么深厚。
Gushan is 30 Chinese miles, about 10 miles, western miles from the provincial capital of Fuzhou. From the foot of the mountain up to the monastery is 10 Chinese miles, so like 3.5 miles up on a windy road. The entire route consists of a broad stone stairway. Honestly, broad steps to go up 3.5 miles. When Master 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗀𝗀 ascended the mountain, the Buddhist disciples who had come to welcome him lined the road continuously from the base of the mountain to the top. They greeted him with incense and flowers, and some of them knelt down to welcome him. So you can see how deep and powerful his influence upon people truly was. Okay, we're reading the essay by this monk named Yueyao, who was a personal eyewitness. Okay, please read.
虚老记住古山第一部件是寺制的改革。首先，不许任何人在寺内私收徒众；次则取消小钵饭菜，改为一律平等的大钵食。最后较为繁重的，就是把许许多多无所谓的首座当家大都减掉了，指定存在1、2个。7、8、10位知客也取消了，只许存在5个到8个。其他如书记等无不量才用人，取消通明贤职。就这样的3件事，引起一部分寺僧的仇恨，他们联合起来，以乱作无为的行动来反抗虚老，破坏寺内秩序，继而使不法恶僧阴谋毒害虚老，并在一个严寒的深夜，从堆柴的房子里放起火来，烧了部分房屋。像这般事件，虚老并不向政府告状，但终被闽省当局知道了，派出许多员警上山镇压和保护。当即逮捕了嫌疑僧人10余名，并审出恶行的缘故，辞和的虚老。不仅不愿政府加害他们，反而向政府请示，更显出他老人家的伟大。
Okay, unbelievable. but believable. Yeah. After Master Empty Cloud assumed leadership, the first step was to reform the monastery's administration. In other words, looking at the monks who were in charge of the corrupt monastery. First, he said, no private disciples. Nobody in the monastery can take disciples on their own. Number two, nobody can eat in their own space. He abolished the practice of separate small kitchens, replacing it with a single communal kitchen where all ate equally from the same large pot. You can visualize how people, powerful monks would go off and set up their own, accept their own offerings. So they ate differently. Whatever everybody else ate, they ate their own. He said, no more. Finally, this was the hardest, he reduced the superfluous administrative jobs. Numerous nominal positions like shouzuo, senior seat holders, the monk in the first chair, and dangjia, the stewards. These are two jobs that need to be done in the monastery, but under corruption, there were 100 shouzuo, meaning this is the monk who interacts with the lay people. There's usually one per monastery. There were 100 here. They all went out and stuck their hands out to the lay people. You want to see something done or talk so-and-so? Pay me. And the dangjia, the stewards, same. Master Empty Cloud went and said, no more, done, quit. These jobs, we're going to find one or two to do it right. The 70 or 80 guest stewards, 𝗥𝗲𝗳, who could set lay people up if they wanted to do a retreat, give them a room, arrange for their food, etc., now abolished. Now, what were the chances for corruption when you're the one interacting with lay people? So much, you just completely corrupt. Only 5 or 8. For a public monastery has hundreds and hundreds of interactions every day. So he said, no, put it in an office. 1 or 5 or 8 people will be 𝗥𝗲𝗳, and they will report properly without putting money in their own pockets. Secretaries were assigned according to ability, empty titles, idle offices removed. These 3 reforms aroused the hatred of a number of the monks. They joined together to oppose him, creating disturbances and disorder in the monastery deliberately, causing trouble, right? Among the Sangha, some corrupt monks secretly plotted to poison him. One bitterly cold night, they set fire in a shed for storewood, burned down part of the monastery because he wanted to reform their corruption. Their mafia opposed him and tried to harm him. So if that happened to you and you were in charge, what would you do? What would your response be? His response was, I forgive you. The word got down to the government that what was going on, and the police came up to say, we're here to protect you. They arrested 10 monks, and through interrogation, which you can imagine was pretty brutal, the reasons behind their wrongdoing were uncovered, which is greed, anger, and delusion. Master Empty Cloud not only refused to have the government punish them, he asked for them to be released and sent back to the monastery. That response is like, yeah, he's it's not recorded of the 10 or so who were arrested, how many became his best Dharma protectors, but don't you know that some did? He went to the government and said, no, it's all good, don't hurt them. These are monks who were led astray by greed. I'm going to transform them, send them back to me. This is my Sangha, right? This is truly what a bodhisattva would do. Okay, we are ready for the next, this is the second step in his reform of Drum Mountain. Cliff, you want to read?
第二步是整理道风，五山禅的声望是一向驰名海内的，但在此时的禅堂已经是有名无实了。堂内1两僧人除看护门户外，别无事做，也不上殿更坐香，虚躬眼见即此，那不痛心。因此，对于修理禅堂扩充人数都是不遗余力的。 由1-2个僧众出到60-70人，恢复旧有12支香的参禅制度，逢冬加香打气。而诸方的禅和子，像由天童、高敏等处航海去参座亲近的非常众多，禅风之盛冠及全国。寺中原有念佛堂，经虚老提倡，亦著有30-40众，以念佛为常客，并请慈州老法师主持之。得见于青年僧人很多，唯恐少年废学，乃有学戒堂之设。后来改为鼓山佛学院，宗敬大显、印顺、新道等法师先后任教。四老法师主讲是改为法界学院。这样一个鼓山是具足了整个佛法的体系，它有禅、净、教、律，岂不是圆满了吗？但虚老并不以此为足，还设有延寿堂，专供年老无力者做修养之所，经常派人照应饮食，日以3支香佛事为同客，还有如意疗、房间清洁，请有专门医生施给各种药材。像这样的事，在全国各名山大刹都是少有的。常住僧众约300余人，共同的行持便是早晚殿堂。虽在言下之中意味间断，虚老也不缺席，正难见其私造饮食。每年春初，全寺修忏魔法，共拜万佛忏，约是半月。春末传戒一次，夏必讲经，讲者皆是法门有名的应慈、慈州等法师。
Okay, number 2, the second step in reforming Gushan's Yongquan was to change the monastic discipline and spiritual atmosphere, the Dao Feng of the place, the wind of the Dao, literally. The reputation of Chan practice at Gushan had been known throughout the country. In China, there were 3 places. It was Gushan, it was Jinshan, Gold Mountain, and it was Gaomin. And Gushan had become Chan in name only. That is to say, 1 or 2 monks who watched the doors. Nobody meditating. Beyond that, they had nothing to do. They didn't go to the service. They didn't do the meditations. They didn't do the hall services, means morning, evening chanting. Master 𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗀 saw this and said, bad and wrong, not the way it should be. So he repaired the Chan hall and expanded the number of practitioners. The number of monks increased from 1 or 2 to 60 or 70 full-time residents, restoring the former system of 12 meditation sticks of incense, 12 hours of sitting every day. That was what it was like. Currently, I won't editorialize here, but this idea that the Chan hall is where monks live year-round. This is what he restored. During the winter, which is traditionally when the entire monastery does Chan, they added periods, and then 7-day �40 𝗪𝗪 was restored. I want to point out for people who know how Master Hua, our teacher, set up Gold Mountain Monastery and City of 10,000 Buddhas, just this way. Chan practitioners came in great numbers, some crossing the sea from Tiantong and Gaomin to attend meditation and draw near for instruction. They wanted to get close to Master 𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗀. The flourishing of Chan practice here at Yongquan became the foremost in the whole country. I noticed this. Tiantong and Gaomin were in the east. They were in northeastern China. Tiantong is in Ningbo. Gaomin is near Nanjing. It says, cross the sea. You know why they crossed the sea? They took the boats because going overland, they would go through the battlefields. China was in a civil war at the time, so they went to the ocean and sailed around China to avoid crossing over where the armies were fighting, interestingly. The monastery already had a Pure Land recitation hall, and it came to house 30 or 40 full-time people whose regular practice was reciting the Buddha's name. Master shouzuo came, famous 20th century monk for reciting the Buddha's name. So, in the past, if there was conflict between Pure Land practice and Chan practice, in the Ming Dynasty, dual practice, both reciting the Buddha's name and meditating, became a standard. Master 𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗀 is famous for reviving that practice. Seeing that there were so many young monks, fearing that the youth would neglect their studies, Master Empty Cloud created a Vinaya studying hall, Gushan Buddhist Academy, where Zongjing Daxing, Yinshun, and Xindao served as instructors. When 𝗪 lectured there, it became Dharma Realm Institute. Now, who else adopted that name for their Buddhist association? We did. So this is completely, you can just see where Master Hua got the inspiration for so much of how he wanted the Dharma to begin in America and in Australia, right here. This is where it began. Let's see here. 大圣意识是新道法师先于任教讲经改为法界学院 right there. The Dharma Realm Institute. There it is. Yeah. So how interesting to see the bones of what I learned as a monk, thinking this is how Buddhism was everywhere in China. In fact, this is the reform that Master Empty Cloud set up in, in opposition to where the Dharma had fallen, to correct the shabby, corrupt practices that had fallen into the hands of. So, interesting. Now, within a single monastery, Gushan and Yongquan, the complete system of the Buddha Dharma was present. Chan, Pure Land, the teachings, doctrinal study, meaning Master 𝗪's lectures, and Vinaya. Here is a perfect integration. Master Empty Cloud said, no, we're not stopping there, not enough. So he created the Yen-shou, the Long Life Hall, to provide a place of cultivation for elder monks who couldn't practice strenuously any longer. So Yanglao, right? Attendants were assigned to care for the meals. Daily schedule included 3 incense periods of Buddha services. Now, I'm going to say, and this is my editorializing, when the monks and nuns who we spoke to in Malaysia, we gathered the Sangha to talk about what to do for senior monks, because our association now is facing the challenge of dealing with elder monks. We have one monk who recently passed away from a stroke. We have another monk who is in hospice right now. And here is Master Empty Cloud said, yeah, we're going to take care of the young monks, put them in school. We're going to take care of the elderly monks to reduce the demands on their bodies, but give them Dharma to cultivate. Totally relevant to our situation right now. There was the Ruyi Bingyuan, whose rooms are kept clean, where a doctor lived full-time, dispensing medicines to those in need. Arrangements of this kind were rare even among the great monasteries of the country. Where? What kind of care? Not just to the monks, but to people outside who were sick. I was just in Singapore, and at the Fojiao Jishilin in Singapore, they have a Chinese Chinese medical clinic open to the public, 7 days a week, 24/7. I guess they don't do evenings, but people can come to receive free medical care, inspired by Master Empty Cloud's initiatives like this. Clean place where a doctor could look at your illness and give you medicine. Now, that's rare. That's rare. The resident community numbered more than 300 monks. Their shared daily practice, including morning and evening ceremonies, never stopped. Even during the heat of summer, Master Empty Cloud never failed to attend. I look at that one and I feel ashamed that I need to step up my game. The fact that he attended morning and evening chanting. And he never ate special food. His food came from the kitchen. Whatever everybody ate, that's what he ate, not special stuff. At the beginning of spring, the entire monastery performed repentance rituals everybody pay attention, collectively bowing the 10,000 Buddhas' repentance for half a month. Now, where is that done? Well, City of 10,000 Buddhas takes as its signature event every year the 10,000 Buddhas' repentance for 21 days. And there it is. When I read this essay, it was like, oh, that's where Shifu got these ideas. He set up our practice in America and Australia exactly in accord with the reforms that Master Empty Cloud established in China at Gushan. So are we on solid ground, being kind of like the rigorous monastery in America and Australia? Yeah, I think so. At the end of the spring, the monastery had an ordination. There were lectures on sutras all the time, delivered by renowned teachers of the Dharma, such as 𝗥𝗲𝗳𝗀 and 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗲𝗀. I lecture on 3 sutras a week because City of 10,000 Buddhas follow in Changchuan. From here in Australia, on Monday noon, I'm lecturing at the City of 10,000 Buddhas, 7:30 p.m. Sunday night. So, and been doing that for many, many years now, following this tradition established by Master Empty Cloud. Okay, Cliff, you ready for another one? This is the third and last. Here we go. 第三
是房屋的修建。古山房屋原来是很整齐的，续老睿智复兴，故对于整个涌泉寺莫不加以粉刷油漆，焕然一新，显得更庄严美丽了。被人放火烧去的房子亦修复如故，念佛堂、延寿堂、佛学院都是花了极大的工程改造的。如意疗是现代化的2层洋楼，可见虚老重视病人的痛苦了。另外，还值得一提的便是人所不注意的上课堂。原有的上课堂在一个角落里，房子又小，空气又暗，人所不愿进去的。虚老是行脚僧的老前辈，知道其中情况，因此把上课堂修建得名副其实，清净庄严，如禅堂一般了。不过范围比禅堂小一点。回龙阁因看管者不慎而毁于火，但不久便修复了，而修造得更加坚固美观。综上所述，皆系事实，以虚老道德高深和人格的伟大，是用不着文字来粉饰和宣传的。不过，记者到鼓山是在虚老之后，离鼓山是在虚老之前，见闻有限，当然不能把虚老在鼓山的一切完全记述下来，这只可说是其中的一段。
So, step number 3, renovating the monastery itself. Originally, Gushan was very orderly, but he was determined to revive it. So the entire monastery was repainted, refinished, walls whitewashed, woodwork lacquered, everything appeared renewed, more solemn and beautiful than before. The buildings that had been destroyed by the monks who set them on fire were restored to their former state. Pure Land Hall, Long Life Hall, Buddhist Academy underwent extensive reconstruction. The infirmary was a modern 2-story Western-style building, showing how clearly he cared about the suffering of the sick. Another matter worth mentioning is something that people overlook, the upper guest hall. The former guest hall had been tucked away in a corner. The rooms were small, dark, and poorly ventilated, places that people were reluctant to enter. Now, hold on here. I'll let the story go. Elder Xu, being a senior monk who had lived the life of a wandering pilgrim, understood these conditions well. Where did he encounter mistreatment was exactly on Jizushan in Yunnan, where he was sick, injured, and hungry, and he was turned away by the local monk who had fallen prey to the hereditary temple system. Monks, wandering pilgrims, should be greeted and given a room. That's the yunshui, sung, guadan, that's the method in the Chinese monasteries. So in Gushan at the time, if you were a cloud and water monk traveling through, people were afraid to go into the guest buildings. They were so dark and a place where you get sick. So he, having been mistreated like that, rebuilt the guest hall so it truly lived up to its name, pure and dignified, almost like a Chan hall itself, but smaller in scale. Then there is the Huilong Pavilion, destroyed by fire due to the carelessness of its keeper, soon rebuilt, more solid and beautiful than ever before. All these above matters are matters of fact. With the profundity of his virtue and the greatness of his character, there's no need to embellish or promote them with my words, says the author. But the writer came to Gushan after Elder Shu had arrived and left before he had left. So my knowledge is limited. I can't record everything about his time at Gushan. What is written here is a small portion of the whole story. So this is, he's humble, right, as he writes this report. But look at the gist, those three changes. The administration by the corrupt Sangha, the lack of practice among even the wholesome residents, the Dao Feng, the wind of the Dao, and then the physical buildings. Three places where Master Empty Cloud, this 92-year-old skinny monk from Sichuan, from Yunnan, who showed up, and as he had done in the far southwest, now in the southeast, he completely changed everything at Gushan back to the condition that it was in the Tang Dynasty, when it was from that time, it became the sacred space for Mahayana Buddhism. So, man, oh man, that's impressive. And you say, you and what army made those changes? Nope, one monk. And you have to know that when somebody, because these are places where the Buddha Dharma flourishes, where people go for transformation, where they go after a layperson shows up there because someone has died in their family. They go because they want refuge for their bodies and for their spirits. They want to know that their ancestors, their relatives are cared for in the afterlife. They go because they themselves recognize that life in the world is often nasty, brutish, and short. They don't find much meaning in fighting for survival or fighting for profit in a world that's so cruel and heartless and uncaring. So they go to the monastery to find the stories of Guanyin Bodhisattva. They want to find the stories of Earthstore Bodhisattva. They want to find a way to cultivate their own lives that make sense to them. And when they get there, they find this place that is often more corrupt than the marketplace. And here comes Master Empty Cloud, and single-handedly, he inspires everyone to qualities in their own nature that they didn't know existed until they saw them mirrored by this monk. And sure enough, by following his example, often wordless, he didn't preach, he got others to teach. But because he believes in the Dharma, he himself has modeled his life after the Dharma teachings of the past. And for that reason, they too look within and find these noble qualities in their own nature. Sure enough, he transforms them in that way, inspires them to greater effort in the tradition of the Buddha Dharma. How wonderful, right? So there it is. Again, he does it again at age 92 in the southeast at Drum Mountain and Bubbling Spring Monastery, Yongquan. So when we see things like this, understand that how much effort went in to rebuilding these places when they were totally, the monks inside them had let them decay to a point that if you showed up at Gushan, chances are you could wind up being cheated out of your money. Not only did you get no sense of refuge or transformation, but you might even find some monk's hand in your pocket, seeking offerings purely for their own self-aggrandizement. Master Empty Cloud swept that away with his character and 𝗔恩报恩, repay kindness, right? Recognize kindness done to you and repay it. That's the teaching of filiality. So here is Gushan rebuilt. Here's the liberating life pond. Look at the turtles. There we go.
这是古三灵泉寺的放生池。
Oh, there you go.
我是翻云书，许愿五连，我是许愿书，看吧。
All right. There we are. All right. So there it is. And now, I'll show you again, bigger map. This is Fuzhou City currently, and Yongquan is 3.5 miles up the road into ruggedly beautiful scenery. So, okay, now, you have to know that in the process there are daily events that still blow people's minds. Last week from Malaysia, we told the story of Master Empty Cloud having 3 dreams in one night of the 6th patriarch coming and saying, time for you to go, you've done your work, meaning please die and come to us. And he said, nope, 似梦非梦, right? So the Master Empty Cloud told the 𝗦𝗵𝗿𝗲𝗀, his attendant, and 𝗦𝗵𝗿𝗀 said, 𝗧𝗵𝗿𝗀𝗀𝗵𝗍, we still need you. So he didn't go. Then the next thing that happened was a tiger showed up to take refuge the next year. He's 95 years old now, Master Empty Cloud. So we heard about this last week. This is the close-in focus. We've been looking at the wide angle, the larger historical impact of his character, but the picture biography is dedicated to vivid scenes of his interactions with the world around him. And here's the picture. You can see the soldier here with his pistol ready to kill the wild animal that is what bowing to Master Empty Cloud. Very tame, seeking the refuges, nodding its head. You know, when Master Empty Cloud says, 金星寿能吃否, can you observe this to the end of your life? The cat behaves very much like a human receiving the refuges. Master Empty Cloud's comment is, he says, this tiger knows how to take refuge with the Buddha. Its inherent nature and ours is one and the same. The hearts of humans and the hearts of animals have this storehouse of bright light, just the same, right? So, 寿王礼法王归依护戒坛年年来朝拜月月持戒香 A king among the animals bowed down to the king of Dharma, taking refuge and protecting the platform of the precepts. Every year, it comes back to bow again, month after month, perfumed with the fragrance of the precepts. The story goes on that this tiger came back, not just once. And people said, oh, there's Master Empty Cloud's disciple, right? Instead of saying, oh my God, there's a horrifying beast. No, he's a Buddhist too. He inspires us. There you go. Totally amazing. Okay, we're going to recite the mantra of Medicine Buddha to help heal the world from its current miseries. So please do join me, send out a wish, however you would like to dedicate your merit. See you all next week for more stories from Gushan, of our teacher's teacher. Here we go. Samyak Sambuddhaya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Saji Saji Saja Samgate Swa. One more time. Samyak Sambuddhaya Saji Saji Samgate Swaha. Then, before we're done, we're going to bow to Guanyin Bodhisattva. If you care to join me, please do. Here we go. It'll do you no harm. Cai Wenxun. San Wenxun. Ting Li Lao He Shang. Chance to bow to our teacher. That's all for today. See you all tomorrow, 12:30 Australian Eastern Time, for stories of my trip to Australia, to Malaysia and Singapore, and the latest from Sudana on his pilgrimage to Buddhahood. See you then. Amitofo. Bye now.